And I think that we're so much more influenced by status and lifestyle and our identity, who we want to associate with. Now that social media and TikTok and all these other platforms are becoming so much more personal, right? So like, it's not everyone purchases this way. Like it's not the entire market, but we even think about it with ours because we have to, I mean, as a media brand, what are we selling? Like we're selling insights. We're selling like a moment of clarity in the noise. We are usually serving up like experts that people want to hear. And so, what is that to us? I guess people would opt in and quote buy our product when they're wanting to also be on that leading edge.
Welcome to GroceryPulse, powered by Innovar Marketing Agency, where innovation drives strategy and delivers real results in the grocery space. I'm George Goodwin, your host, a fourth-generation grocer and marketing expert. This podcast is your go-to toolkit for growing your business and staying ahead in the fiercely competitive grocery environment. Every episode, I bring in top executives, industry experts, and fellow grocers to share their battle-tested insights, breakthrough strategies, and actionable advice you can put to work right away. Let's hype you up. Did you know that people who listen to podcasts weekly are 45% more likely to achieve higher success and growth in their career? It's true. Constant learning pays off, so keep it up. So here's my ask. Hit subscribe right now. It may seem small, but it motivates me to keep raising the bar and bringing you the best possible content. Let's dive in and shape the future of grocery together. Welcome back to another episode of GroceryPulse by Innovar Marketing Agency. I think it's pretty unique. We got two unique individuals here. I'd like to consider myself unique, but I don't know. But two people that are passionate about the industry, super stoked to have conversations around the transformation of media and how Chase is here, going to represent RetailWire. He has a really cool background as a CEO. He's run a legacy company for 23 years in leading retail thought leadership. RetailWire has over 1 million monthly readers. He knows what he's doing and he knows what he's talking about. They've done 8 acquisitions. We're going to talk a little bit about CPG, grocery, retail, and I'm excited to be here. Chase, how are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, I feel unique with that intro, and you're a unique person too.
Thank you. I needed that. It's a little self-confidence boost right there.
That's one of those like half compliments when people give you, he's unique.
Yeah. Just for our listeners or viewers, can you share a little bit more about RetailWire and your experience if I kind of missed anything?
Yeah, I mean, my background is in marketing. I've always been somebody who even since high school, packaging my music, making the album art and putting music out on MySpace and everything. So it really is something that I've always been like the guy in my friend group to like put this stuff out there.
Nice.
And that led all the way through a career with real estate, led to a marketing agency acquisition and a few other things. But one of the prominent thing now is RetailWire. And when I saw this, the founders were retiring and they wanted to keep that 20, at the time it was 21 years in production since 2002. They had been leading this thought leadership platform. It really started as a forum for executives and retail leaders to discuss whatever the trending topic is. And over the years through, from 2002 all the way through 2020, where there's a lot of disruption in the retail space with things moving to e-commerce. And now we're in this era of AI. So there's like all of these hot button issues where leaders have to come together and actually talk about it to figure out how to do it. There's not like a one linear path to implementing AI in your organization. So you have to talk with other leaders. And that's really been the space. We hold space, we curate topics, and we prompt that dialogue to happen. We have over 100 panelists who are on our Brain Trust panel, and we host roundtables, webinars, and other kind of events that facilitate the conversation.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I think it's crazy. I mean, there's so much information out there, but I think some of the gold mines are just picking those conversations and the right questions. And I'm excited to do that today. with you. 1 million visits monthly and 23 years in the business, and then you took it over to keep it from 21. So you accelerated that growth. And then I think some of the other stats that I learned was just 90,000 engagement with newsletter subscribers. How do you keep pushing that? That's awesome. Like, is it just a lot of content around those thought leaderships, and kind of can you share more on how to get those golden nuggets to your readers?
Yeah, I mean the networking is really important. We attend 5 to 10. Lately, it's more than 10 events per year in person, and we are the media company going around the show floor, talking to the vendors, talking to retailers. So kind of being this like go between those two sides of the industry and learning from both sides, and then facilitating like what nuggets can we pull from this, and what are people talking about, and where is there a gap in knowledge, especially in tech. Every year, every few months, there's something new. Like recently, ChatGPT kind of, obviously that's been the last few years has been all about ChatGPT, but recently they started talking about checkout inside the interface. So not just researching products and clicking over to Amazon or clicking over to, Walmart or Target or other places to buy the product, but actually being able to check out inside the chat. And
Yeah,
so the whole like LinkedIn sphere and in our network, everybody's talking about, we knew this was coming, but now it's like, let's really do some masterminding on how to do this, like how to be prepared for this. So
yeah,
every few months, especially in tech, it's accelerating so fast that we need to be able to talk to each other. A lot of LinkedIn content is really surrounded around discussions around these things. But for us, it's just keeping a pulse on what's happening in retail. And we've got a good network around us. So we get suggestions from them, but it's just anywhere that seems like the cutting edge is talking about it. We know there's this gap between when someone first talks about it, who we know is like a leader or a forefront kind of thought leader, and then the rest of the masses. So there's definitely a varying degree of gap. Sometimes it's just everyone has to get on board within a month. Other times it's like this is going to be about a 1 to 2 year journey to transform the industry.
yeah. No, I think that's a great point. I think it's crazy. I don't know. The human brain to me is just so fascinating. I feel like ChatGPT takes a lot of historical knowledge, has an IQ of 700. I don't know. Like, it's supposed to be the perfect human being, but sometimes it still gets like the semicolons messed up, but it still has the historical knowledge. But all that knowledge is from us, from what we created and how to balance that. And I think when you bring the other leaders in the space and put them together, they're going to think outside the historical knowledge. They're going to think about the next changing, the next trend, how do you adapt and move forward, even outside of the historical knowledge. And that's what pushes our industry forward. And so I think that's important. I think that's really cool that you have that network and you have that bridge, that gap between the consumer, the B2B softwares, and then the expos. And you're the one man that I could just go to instead of going to all the trade shows sometimes,
Yeah.
in a sense.
I would say there's an important role for uh, journalism. I use that term loosely because there's a term. Journalism is really supposed to be not even unbiased. It's supposed to be a voice outside of the fight, right? It's someone documenting and formulating some thoughts or creating pushback on things in the world. And we're not into political. We're not into a lot of the other things that would be debated publicly in the public sphere. But in the world in retail, e-commerce, CPG, right? You have the players on the retail side, you have the manufacturers or brands, and then you have the tech companies. And often there's a layer of consulting as well. So the operators and the consultants, we'll say. And I think there's a lot of bias that can happen when you see a ton of money pouring into all these new tech companies. And in order to get the return on that investment, whether it's VC backed or venture backed, private equity, there's a lot of money moving into AI. And so there's a lot of incentive to push AI solutions.
Right.
And when you talk to the operators, they're like, yeah, we spent all this money on this AI implementation and we didn't get the results we wanted. or it was implemented wrong, or we rushed into it, or
Yeah.
we realized it required a lot more clean data in order to get the output we want, right? The input has to be clean for the output to be clean. And so in a way, we are kind of an unbiased source. I say we're unbiased, but I mean, there's always bias. Like we might be pretty tech forward. Others might be pretty tech skeptical.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of people on the retail and brand side wanting to hear the insights from consultants and agencies and tech companies. And they want it because they know that they're solving things for other competitors, but they're also still skeptical of being sold to.
Right.
So we try to toe the line between those, almost like being a moderator between those two sides in a way, where we can try to get the most educational insights from those fixing things in the field, but also making it where it's not a salesy environment where you can actually try to get the signal from the noise and not be basically pushed toward where all the tech investment is going. Because sometimes the best solution is not a new tech solution. Sometimes it's, people and leadership. Maybe it's culture in the company,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no, I think that it's interesting because it's like journaling. I really like how you kind of broke that down. It's like you're a mediator. You kind of try to remove the noise in a sense. And I think there's a big beauty in someone coming in from like the outside space and analyzing something and then kind of bringing a nice cleaned up, even if it's just a blog or just a video about something from reporting from an outside perspective. I mean, like oftentimes I even in marketing, like if I'm just doing the same thing over and over and then my nephew comes over and he looks at my screen and he says something from, his 13-year-old high school perspective, I'm like, oh shoot, like it's not how I'm viewing it. So it kind of like doing that even in the professional space is very helpful, whether it's, graphic designers, they constantly like, I think our head graphic designer, he'll like design. And one of the things he has to do is like once after or like a few hours working, he'll stop and just restart the next day and then get a fresh pair of eyes because the word vinegar is spelled wrong. And it's a
Yep.
simple mistake, but it looks great. But it's like one little, and I think even in business, we often getting that outside, that mediation is so important. And that's going to help anyone successful run their business. So that's a good point. I think there was a cool little supporting stat that I found with leadership and media was 67% of retailers now use digital media platforms like RetailWire to guide their purchases, tech, and operation decisions. And that was cited by NRF in 2004. And I think there is that we want the information, and it's like even you're constantly being trying to be sold to. You're the CEO of RetailWire, you're running it, but you have to leverage, what is being sold to you and then what is actually something you need to run your business. And then even translating that for your readers. I think that's a pretty cool. I kind of wanted to jump back a little bit and ask you more about, how you got into this marketing. So you were playing music when you were a kid, and then you just was the friend that was always getting stuff out. When you think about, that younger self to now you're running RetailWire and bringing this media outlet to the world in a sense online and to millions of people. How'd you do that? Was that something you always had a passion for? Yeah. Or you just stumbled upon it and you're like, they want to keep the business going and I'm kind of down to keep going.
Yeah, I was a very shy kid growing up, but I was also very observant. And so when I just observed a lot, I noticed certain patterns in like who had the loudest voice and who people listened to and why did they listen to them, because there's like the smart kid in the corner nobody's listening to. And so I'm like, how does this all work? Because it's not always like a meritocracy of like who should be the one being heard, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes like bad ideas get to the top. But my personal journey, I never really saw myself as living a normal 9 to 5 kind of lifestyle. I don't know if it's just like I wanted control over my destiny or I just wanted to see the efforts pay off. Where I remember working one of my first jobs where I was a landscaper and working really hard and like sweating and like like, oh, okay, I'm getting like stronger. You build up some
Yeah.
muscle and it's like, but still my next thing to look forward to is like a 25-cent raise if I do a good job. And then there's not an upside if I work that much harder. And so I liked when I could be in a situation where as I got serious about a career, I was started to look at investing and real estate, and I got a real estate license and just started selling. And I liked listening to people and find out their goals. And I knew that if I did a good job, landing a sale in real estate was going to be like a big celebration, right? Like I only needed 1 or 2 sales a month to make it a good paying career. And I could work harder, but I could also leverage certain kind of levers. I knew that I could get into a level of marketing where I could reach more people. I could maybe, angle my service, position myself differently. Whereas like commodity style marketing is just like kind of a race to the bottom of who can offer that thing for the lowest price.
Yeah.
And that's one angle, but I knew that I wanted to get into something where I could really play, like, and get creative, because I was very much into like music, and we'd make short films and comedy and everything. So I wanted to be creative, and marketing was just like, that just makes sense.
Yeah.
And as soon as I realized that marketing wasn't only about like tricking people, like dark psychology, like I think growing up, a lot of marketing was like, we saw examples of like cigarettes were still a big deal then. And like,
Yeah.
now there's other things that are marketed, but they've ratcheted down on, even they've ratcheted down on like marketing to children. Whereas in the 90s, it was like commercials everywhere. Like just, I was marketed to everywhere.
Yeah.
And now I think that I realize there's more to it than just trying to get someone to like trick them into buying something. There's this full scope of identity and branding and who are you, right?
Yeah.
And how do you reach someone in a way that they already have some familiarity? Like when we do these roundtables, people know what a roundtable is, or they have this visual of like a roundtable. There'd be like multiple people discussing. They know what a podcast is now. So it's going to be one-on-one or maybe 2 people or 3 people. But if we try to come up with some like crazy new thing people haven't heard of, it's going to be harder. And that goes with any kind of products. Like you have the brand that you're working on. The product is like, it's a familiar product or a familiar thing people know and love. Now you're just kind of shifting it into like a different packaging.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
or a different use.
Yeah. No, Kobu kombucha powder.
Totally.
Yeah. That's a good point. It's funny that you kind of like brought the scope of like a landscape of like a time range of marketing. And yeah, I never really thought of it. Like, I think in US, we're one of the only countries that allow like pharmaceutical companies, drug companies to advertise on TV, to run ads in certain ways. And it's like, even the ad itself has, like this, I don't know, 30-second spill at the end that's like showing people being super happy, but it's like all the side effects of this drug that could happen. And they don't allow that in other countries. And I think, in a sense, like there's that dark side of marketing. And then there's this more like transparency of bringing leadership, thought leadership, and trying to cultivate, what works and what people should be doing. And I think that that's important because there's always two sides, I think, in almost in anything, whether it's definitely on the view. But what advice do you have to listeners then, or what advice do you have to consumers that are wanting that? I like almost think like, in a sense, these roundtables are really good, and these actual listening to people, because maybe it's not always edited by AI, but I think AI is even a tool. So it's like it could be used in a way where it pulls out points and it helps you. But what advice do you have to leaders trying to consume the best information to fuel their next idea or to keep pushing their business forward?
I've been thinking about this, just the way that we consume information. It's so interesting because we were in the information age where getting access to information was like, it just opened up with the internet. As a kid, I remember getting on dial up, and I'm just like, I had homework assignments to read, but I didn't like reading books. So I like searched in Yahoo or Jeeves or whatever was, it was like before Google. And I was like, Lion King script. And I just started reading the script to the Lion King as my homework, but I had access to it, right? Like I didn't know that you could just read a movie script. So that's one example of like how information just started getting out there to everyone. And now with AI, it's like you have this almost like infinitely generating different angles and perspectives and like pulling like a Wikipedia into like this really custom answer format. And they're even seeing that like it's not exactly making us smarter. We're kind of outsourcing a lot of our thinking. But what I see happening as a pattern is people are craving in-person connection more, and they want to see the raw. You see it on social media too. Like the ads that are working now are just a normal mom talking about a product that she liked.
Yeah.
Or like whatever avatar or archetype, it's somebody talking about a product and just being real, even saying like the pros and cons of it. There still is a place for like performance driven, like glossy, type of marketing where it's really pitching only the benefits and like the pie in the sky results of that. But people then started seeking reviews, and then now like social media has become like, a place for authentic, opinion. But even with speaking of AI, you have Notebook LM. Have you seen this where you can just throw in a document or just feed it a source and then hit go, and it will create a podcast with two AIs talking about that topic?
I saw something similar to this. Yes. Yeah.
So, and they're so good at doing like the podcast voice and all the transitions of like back and
Yeah.
forth, and they could just riff about anything. And so I've heard a lot of people actually throwing in like their homework or textbook assignments and just throwing it in there, because hearing two people talk about it in a podcast format is a way that they learn better than just hearing like an audiobook.
Yeah.
So speaking of like kind of a meta layer of AI, is like there's so much information, we can't consume it all. Use AI to put it in a human-like format, because it's not human-like, as it just all spits out. Like just reading things as just textbook is not always the most human way. But I think back to your original question of advice, when you're overwhelmed with what's going on, there's too much information. I think human to human connection is still going to be, that's just going to be something in our biology forever. Like we went through like cubicle era, and then back to like open office concepts where there's more collaboration. Yeah. And now I don't know if we'll ever go back to just individual cubicle style life, because we're going to have like all the AI agents are going to be in the cubicles for us. So I don't know what the human role is going to be, but I mean, I think that navigating through industry challenges will probably always be best done collectively with trusted people, and like really hearing from those who are doing it. So that's the case for like a lot of these events. They put leaders up there, not just because they're, prolific speakers, but they have something to say because they've done it.
Yeah. No, that's so true. I think there's like a huge value of mentorship and like learning from people. I mean, I think of like even like we're raised by human beings, our parents or people that, and I think even consuming information that is past, I mean, historically it's been storytelling. And now there's so many different dimensions through different outlets and how you consume it. And I think, yeah, that's so interesting on information. Like information was so accessible, and now it's almost feels like we're moving into like your attention span. So you're not really, it's like what grabs your attention. I think I was listening to something recently, and it was saying the average adult is spending like 2 hours just dumb scrolling. And it's like what grabs their attention, and the algorithm feeds it. And then it's like, take that time, 2 hours a day, and then span it for your lifetime. You get out of bed, you look at your phone, and then you get stuck. And it's like, oh no, like you just invited the world from the phone into your bedroom. Just like this whole, like, how do you balance everything? And I'm going on a tangent here, but I think it's just taking it a step back, maybe to information and even like how you learn. Like, is it the podcast way? Is it from the roundtable? Is it from one-on-one mentorship? I think everyone learns what you said on, getting human conversation. And I think I recently had lunch with a headhunter. I didn't even know that was a term for like recruiters, but I was like, whoa, that sounds so intense. Like
it's like a violent term. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got coffee, and I was sitting with him, and he's like, yeah, I think
And we kind of had this similar dialogue. And it was like, I think nowadays it's like taking the time and having a conversation. He's like, even if it's Zoom, but just having, that conversation for 30, 40 minutes, you're going to remember me now. Like if I send you an email, you're going to be looking for my name. It's not like it's going to the spam. And if it does go to the spam and you check your spam, you're like, oh, that's George, like, oh, that's Chase. So it's like having that human, even though it may felt like it was, I don't know, maybe a little bit unpractical, but now it's like that's how you consume and hold on to things, and picking, the right education from individuals that have that experience is definitely going to help your business grow, or definitely help you whatever you're going through in that time of means. But yeah.
Oh, we see it across the board and all of this on the marketing side. The more that there is a face to the company, if the founder is involved, if they're showing their process, if they're building trust.
Yeah.
It could be on the B2B side, on the tech side. You want to have your CEO speaking on stage. You want them to be, seen as a leader. And if they're just, hiding behind their email and sending out, like, you could have the fanciest email outreach sequence, but then, like you said, it's not really real. We have to kind of, like, the human psychology has to ground this kind of digital world into something real.
Yeah.
And some of the best ways to do that in person, but it's not as scalable. You can have dinner, you can have coffee with people. It's not that scalable. You only can do lunch probably once, maybe twice a day. Go have lunch with somebody. How many coffees can you do per day?
Yeah.
But you can record a video and post it and reach many more people. And it's not as good as in person, maybe, but the factor of scale, that's what makes it worth it. And so, like, I think that the new way of communication, if I could just predict where we're going, is you're going to do in person at a on a human level. Like, you can only meet with so many people, but then you leverage that, whether you record it like a conversation like this could have been just having us, Chase and George having coffee, but we're recording it. And now we can reach more people, and, like, people may feel like they know us after listening.
Wow, man, this is so deep. I like this.
It's a weird world. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think like sometimes we like this whole podcast could have went a different direction on like how many views can you trigger till their endorphins go on in their brain and then they remember your company for life? Is it like thousands or like, but taking it to like, the human like component of like how we learn, how we interact, how information spreads and how it's effective. But I even think like this is great, like even tapping into RetailWire and your role and your model, like as you run your company with RetailWire, and like why people read your articles, why you have millions of monthly readers. And I think there's that differentiator component of, analyzing and building expert commentators and even advice to, founders. I mean, there's this huge trend with founders sharing their story. Like people want to feel like they're a part of something. And that's like so many people that are tapping into that are seeing the benefit because it's like you're building that community while you do it, which is going to make them excited. I always love seeing finished products, but it's because I know how it started. Yeah. And so when you bring that along with your company and then even bring in, these conversations and we record them and have coffee or tea or water, you get to have these conversations that you've experienced, and then you're putting it out there and documenting it or journaling it in a sense for others to learn. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah. And trust is built different ways. If you look at the Poppy brand, I know you have like a grocer and CPG kind of audience. That was kind of a big acquisition this year that Pepsi purchased Poppy, and Poppy was more of a founder-led brand that kind of you could almost watch their journey from the ground up.
Yeah.
But then being acquired by Pepsi, the thought was like, how do you retain that authenticity and, continue to market that brand if it's going to be owned by like a large beverage company? And so now, like, Pepsi has just put out that they're doing some kind of a healthy soda drink, and people are like, come on, you can't copy the founder-led playbook coming from your angle. It's just not going to resonate the same way. right? So it wasn't about the product as much. It was it is a good product. People were looking for like a healthy alternative soda, but it was sort of the brand, and you can't like remove those pieces. It was a cohesive, and I think that's becoming more and more prominent, is that it's not just a commodity product. It's like, oh, I'm going to pick up some sodas. No, you're actually like opting into a certain lifestyle and a certain status. And I think that we're so much more influenced by status and lifestyle and our identity, who we want to associate with, now that social media and TikTok and all these other platforms are becoming so much more personal,
Yeah.
right? So like, it's not everyone purchases this way. Like it's not the entire market, but we even think about it with ours, because we have to, as a media brand, what are we selling? Like, we're selling insights, we're selling like a moment of clarity in the noise. We are usually serving up like experts that people want to hear. And
Yeah.
so, what is that to us? I guess people would opt in and quote buy our product when they're wanting to also be on that leading edge. So like, being associated with us, they want to, I guess, be seen or feel like they're part of the in crowd of those who are really pushing forward. I guess that's what I want to be. Like, I grew up reading a like popular science magazine. Like, this is back in when my parents would go shopping at the grocery store, and then I'd go right over to the magazine rack and look at this like science magazine with all these inventions of like hovercrafts and stuff like that. And so like, this is so cool. I want to see this happen. So I love being in the space where I'm looking at the latest tech and figuring out what it means. And my favorite tech is the kind that makes you rethink how you do everything in life. Like, this latest stuff with AI is just changing it. I don't know if it's going to be for a good, the final result is a humanity that's like better off. And that's kind of like the question. But, being able to use AI, and I don't even know how to use an agent. I don't even have like an assistant, like a human assistant. So like, what do I do with an AI assistant? So I have to really rethink everything I'm doing and consider that almost everything I do could eventually be done by this technology. And then what would I do with my life? It's not a new debate. I think that people wondered this 100 years ago, when like different machines were being created, like the washing machine. What are you going to do with all our time?
Let's take a second to thank one of our sponsors, Kobu Kombucha. Kobu is an instant kombucha powder made for the busy professional. Just mix with water for a refreshing, gut-boosting drink. With 1 billion CFUs, 25 calories, and only 2 grams of sugar, it is a great on-the-go drink. It has organic ingredients, it's eco-friendly, no fridge necessary, and smooth flavors like blueberry mint made it easy to love. Valued at $60, grab your free sample in a waitlist bio.
There's so many interesting topics that you brought up, from CPG companies being acquired. I think, it's like Pepsi, they're relaunching like a probiotic cola, which is funny because to me, I literally, when they said that, it was like cola, I thought of Coca-Cola. And then I was like, prebiotic. And I'm like, you're kind of just using your brand. I'm like, is the recipe, like, it almost makes me think, when you go back, how they say the most sacred thing in CPG space is your recipe, like Coca-Cola. But is it your brand or your recipe or your founder story, or is it your customer? It almost brings a shock to that table. And I think even another component on a kombucha brand today, Health Aid, Health Kitchen, I think it's Health Aid, got acquired 500 million by, what is it? It's a venture capitalist company, but like, now that company has like a billion in revenue, billion in revenue. It is just crazy. But I think that CBG is hot right now in the consumer, and removing the artificial flavors. Like, that's going to be a huge shift nowadays. Like, I think the National Organization of Ice Cream just said they're going to work, and they have like, I think it's like 85% of the ice cream, they're going to start removing artificial dyes. And it's really interesting to see, how these companies shift. They have to adapt in a way. Otherwise, you get left behind. But then even like when you talk about, AI and like the human element and rethinking how we do stuff. I think it's such an interesting, I think, and then there's still problems with it, right? So it's like, how do you play both? I think like Twitter's Grok. Did you hear about that? Where like they had to make a public statement because I think someone maybe on the back end messed with something that got fired. Like he threw extra code in there or something. But like they're not going to talk about the problems within the internal business. But like it was interesting because they had to make a public statement about their chat GPT in a sense, saying like, we're going to put that on pause. And then now I don't know if it was ChatGPT or Grok or Twitter Grok is creating a chat or like basically a artificial intelligence chat bot for kids now. So be safe, kid proof.
Oh yeah.
Like creating that guidelines for them. But it's so interesting in this, like there's so many moving parts, whether it's CPG, retail, finding the new tech and rethinking the tools that we'll be using. And how do you, in a sense, stay creative, stay human, keep enjoying what you do? And I think this was, I think our first conversation at what I don't know, it's still, I think I sent you the email. It really stuck to me. It's like, I want to keep doing things that I love and I enjoy. Like, I don't want to be bored. And I remember as a kid, that was always my mentality. And to this day, it's like, I want to keep learning. I want to keep growing. And in a sense, those components, if we can keep pushing that, hopefully those elements are more the human element and using those tools to fuel our success in business or whatever that venture is. And I think one of my points that I wanted to say was that, like, I don't know. I think like the human element of storytelling and the founder story is huge. And I think that will be continuously pushing, and that will be somewhere where CPG companies that are $billion company are not sure going to have to fill that gap for them, because unless they recycle, I think like if they could recycle some of how the company was founded and like did something like that, I think that could be really cool. But there was this stat where I found was like 58% of retail executives say like the expert, the human conversation opinion piece is the most influential versus like a, like paid media outlet or something like that. And so I think sometimes that, even in like B2C marketing or even B2B marketing, I think it's like testimonials and word of mouth. Like if I recommend this software or recommend this healthy kombucha called Kobu kombucha powder,
Catchy. That's catchy.
A higher chance, a little sub note in there, a higher chance of, someone wanting to try it. And I think that's the biggest for my family's business. Like from like the brick and mortar space, it was like, how'd you hear about it? It was like, oh, my friend told me about it. And it was like, oh, yeah. But I think it's and then it's billboards for us, but it's like we're by a freeway. So it's like every environment's different. Every channel and how do you reach people is unique upon that person. And I think all of them work in some way or form depending on the environment.
I predict that opinion will matter more in the future as the fact-based information flow, like anything that's just straight facts, that's just going to be all automated. We want to get the facts, we'll go to it. But opinion is going to matter so much more, because what do you think of those facts, right? Like you even see it with product recommendations, like someone's searching for, I don't know, let's just say like the best kombucha powder. You
off launch.
I want you to search that in ChatGPT. Like, what's the best kombucha powder? And so when it gives you like the factors, it's going to make a generalization of what it sees in the market. Like it might take all of your reviews and summarize them and give, specs of the product and everything. But when it comes down to it, you'll be more influenced by just one person you trust saying to try it.
Yeah.
You see this like Substack is on the rise. They just raised a lot of money, and that's stream of consciousness, editorial opinion. Like there's not a whole lot of people just putting out facts. They're giving analysis and giving their individual thoughts. That's what's making that platform thrive. Just like when Twitter first came out, where you could hear from the president. This was when Obama was like the first president to use it. Yeah. So you could hear directly from like actors and singers and everybody, just what do you think? Yeah. And so Substack is one. I don't know if I'll start one, but I just joined last night, and it's just part of that trend of like people want to hear from people,
Yeah.
especially people who've done something or have earned some clout, where they've built that trust. So that's where like thought leadership or founder led branding is just all the rage right now.
Yeah. I think it's Twitter or X is like has one of the highest like user voice is like in like political or governmental power or like in country or things like that. Like it is like it's interesting, when it is that individual voice. And I feel like there's ghostwriters, there's PR firms that are going to represent. So that's challenging, but I think that is so interesting. I chat GBT'd kombucha
What'd
powder.
you find?
It kind of just gave like the definition of like a dehydrated form of kombucha, fermented tea with the sugar and fiber that creates a probiotic good for your digestive system. But it was funny because it is lightweight, shelf stable, but it in a sense it's like Kobu's going to be freeze dried, so it'll be better. It'll be holding the probiotics a little bit better. There's there's so many different variables in food production and then how do you get that out? How do you get that out on the media and educate consumers that it's not spray dried and it's freeze dried. Freeze dries holds the nutrition. That's what they use for like science and stem cell research and things like that, or holding not just flavor but like food. And then there's like the dark side of the media where it's just run some Google ads and say it's healthy and say it's this, and then it's that lean into education, I guess, for that CPG space. I think CPG, I mean, there's quite a few companies that are growing really fast, and there's like gummies right now, and there's I think it's going to be probiotics is going to be huge, especially with Pepsi trying to move into that role. And kombucha just got Health Aid. I think they were like one of the top five kombucha companies in US that was too. So
They started 8 years ago and raised 7 million to start.
oh, shoot. Yeah. Look at nice. Yeah, it's so many interesting things.
Like let me just leave you with this kind of thing. I've seen this trend on social media, and if you're a founder, you are a founder of this kombucha brand, and you just had your one message. Like maybe you test a few different messages, but let's say this one message about like the freeze dried keeps the probiotics and it's mobile and whatever, and you just did that same video of you selfie camera 60-second video in different places like every day for a year. Like you don't even have to like change your message that much, but just being out there and giving as many chances, like basically as many rolls of the dice or as many at bats.
Yeah.
A lot of people overcomplicate the marketing and just think we have to have a different idea every single day. But I'm seeing this trend of just channels just doing pretty much the same message.
Yeah.
Because it's not the same follower algorithm as it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
Every single video is its own roll of the dice. And yes, you gain followers and there's there's a follower curve, but it's not like the old days where you had to like keep them entertained with every video goes out and gets found by that same followership. Like sometimes you're not even seen by your own following.
Yeah.
If you've ever noticed like Instagram and it tells you how many people saw it out of your follower or versus non-follower. And it's like mostly non-followers.
Yeah.
So
I got to try that now. I think that's a great, I know that I tested something the other day. You take a viral video and you throw it, like you just download it and repost it. And it's like, I think this video had over 100,000 views on TikTok. And it was like something about me in real estate. But a lot of times what you could do is you could download it, repost it. I did it the other day. And like, I was getting no views on any videos, very little compared to what I normally would get. And this one is already like the same video, literally just reposting it and getting a lot of traction, like thousands of views. And it's like that you take a viral one or you take that same message and keep working on it, honing it, making it better. And there's a new strategy that I also heard is like Instagram has a component where you could do tests and you can post it and put it in test and trial. It doesn't show it to followers, it shows it to non-followers. And they say, if you could do that with your viral clips, it'll grow your audience because it shows it to. And I haven't tested that one, so I have to try that one.
I did
But
see that feature. You're taking
definitely,
your own videos and reposting?
yeah. So you would just take your own
Okay.
video
At
that
first I
went.
thought you would just take normal, like anybody's viral video and repost.
Oh, you
Like,
you could do that. I know
well,
that
you could
people
do a
post like
stitch.
that.
You could
Yeah.
probably stitch and make it your own.
Yeah, you could probably like talk in it too, like this is why I think it went viral or something. But yeah, I think it's just taking your own content that went, if you had any content that did blow up. But yeah, so many different strategies and getting in front of consumers and yeah.
Well, in the attention economy, you said it before, it's like attention is the thing versus the information economy. The attention economy, which is definitely like kind of a US thing. I think there's other economies out there in the world that are like still based in different levels, but where we're at now is like a very consumer attention driven space market. And in that type of thing, you have to be able to catch their attention and build trust very quickly. So those who are catching attention with good hooks, good, whatever it is, something interesting, something that tickles that kind of that receptor in the brain, but then building trust. So keeping trust, right? So I think people who the kids who have been doing YouTube forever have an advantage because they understand like the hook and follow through. And a lot of that is based, since we're moving to like most everything is video content or content marketing, that concept is those kids are pretty well trained at hook and follow through.
Yeah, I think, and I think it's interesting because even though like there is that component of like attention, but I think there's also like a user base that wants to retreat from that too. Like they are going to like Reddit threads and like to reading documents and like shifting completely like away from that because of, so it's, I guess it's just, yeah, it's so interesting like who your clientele are, who you're trying to target, what medium is best for your ICP, like how do you get that information in front of them. But yeah, I definitely think we're running into an attention span is becoming kind of almost like a currency, like how many views, how many impressions, and then that, I guess the human element versus I guess in a sense of just attention. Chase, I like to ask this question more and more now. I used to hide away from it, but as a leader in your space and a leader in your company as CEO, like what makes you smile? It's been something that for me, I feel like listeners already know this like hundreds of times, but for me, it's probably more a little bit simple. It's kind of having some type of warm beverage or a drink, getting some fresh air and sunlight, or it's like going on like a run in nature or something where it's I kind of just zone into the action that I'm doing. But yeah, what is something? And then I mean, obviously in marketing, it might be like seeing a finished product or over like killing it when it shouldn't have been. It should have been like your expectations were this, and then you somehow just got caught off guard. But what is some components of Chase smile into himself?
I like to see when someone on our team catches some kind of an idea, brings it into the team, and then it kind of swirls around like, we make it and then we put it out and it hits.
Oh, awesome.
Like, I really think that, I don't know, that's also probably a good leadership thing to like want the team to do well. But when it comes to like marketing or media, and especially the media side where we're like curating topics and wanting to like get it out there and serve people, I just think some of the best ideas come from just a random conversation at a coffee shop or just bumped into somebody at the store. And then that idea came from that. It comes into the team and then we're like, yes. And everyone was like, puts their own spin on it. And when it goes out and resonates with people, I think that's just the most smile producing type of thing for a media brand.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Especially when it's like, that's our goal, is just to be able to put out stuff that, it's just one step ahead from where people are at. Like just to be able to like throw that carrot out and people are like, that's exactly where I wanted to go.
Cool. I like that. No, that's good. I think, and that's a huge characteristic. I think like I've heard this, my mom has told me this so many times. And like whenever it's like seeing someone that you support be successful at something or giving back to someone and them being happy makes you happy. Like that component is huge. When your employee does it, that's even bigger because it's like you're doing what you're supposed to do, and then now I'm happy. Like, and
Yeah.
you're getting information that is helpful and insightful. I do this. So I guess now lately, the last 20 plus episodes, I've been doing these, what makes you smile? And then I do a fire chat. And so the fire chat is kind of just some fun conversations on, I guess it would be more on retail media. It would also be, maybe some of the areas that could be like coffee or tea. But yeah, so let's jump into that. When you think of like your favorite tool in retail and CPG, or yeah, when you think of your favorite tool for media, what would come to mind? Sorry, it's pretty general.
Favorite? And I'm not sponsored by OpenAI, but I definitely use them interchangeably. So I'm not like ChatGPT loyal, but I have ChatGPT, even the Microsoft Copilot, just for a quick answer. Being able to just take my messy ideas, throw it in there, and get it reworked, reflected back to me. Definitely as somebody who's just like works in the idea business.
Yeah.
It's just pretty much my co-pilot.
Nice. I was talking to this gentleman that he's like playing with like AI agents, and he's like, have you ever talked to ChatGPT and had conversations with it? It's really interesting. Like you can like have a whole brainstorming session, but I'll leave that as something that people can try. Best business advice you've ever received?
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. I like that.
Yeah.
Is there like, do you think AI is a threat or opportunity?
I mostly think of the opportunity because I'm a risk-taking entrepreneur. So I'm thinking, how do I use this?
Yeah.
The threat side, I know there's people who are worried about that. There's movies about the threat of AI. I think there are people working on that are more suited to be like the legal, ethical side of things. People who could actually stop the threat. I'm just like, maybe I use AI to stop the threat. Like,
yeah, maybe a book that you were given or a book that you read or listened to that you recommend.
I actually used to give this book to people who were in the business ownership and entrepreneur kind of space. It's called Buy Then Build.
Okay, I've heard
Walker Diebel, and he's a business broker, and he wanted to teach people like how to actually consider the value of a business. It's the opposite of the like startup grind, like start up a business from nothing. It's buying an existing business that has revenue and customers and profit, and being able to evaluate that and purchase an existing business. And then from there, you have like that baseline, and you can then renovate it, grow it, change it, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But coming from someone like myself who was into like real estate investing before I got into business ownership, made a whole lot of sense to look at a business as like a vehicle that has a certain valuation, and there's certain factors that make it valuable. So I think anyone who owns a business now should probably read that book from the buyer's point of view, because they'll someday be selling, hopefully, the goal of a business, you grow it to a point you're ready to sell it.
Uh-huh.
And that's just like you make your money while you own it, and then you get to also cash out at the end.
Wow. Cool. Yeah, I've heard of that book. I think I actually might have listened to the audiobook of it. But yeah, that's cool. What's next for RetailWire? I don't know. Anything cool that you're working on that kind of just want to share, or anything, any cool roundtables coming up or any expos you're going to?
We have a roundtable series that we produce every few weeks, and we cover all kinds of topics. Like we've already done RFID technology and how that helps retailers, and really there's even places where they're requiring it. We've done in-store technology or in-store experience, and then social commerce or live shopping. Next one's coming up will be agentic commerce. That's like a very exotic topic that's really cutting edge right now, talking about how products will be sold inside of the AI chat and how brands can be found in the AI chat, such as ChatGPT and Perplexity.
Yeah.
So we're just going to stay on the cutting edge and keep having conversations with people who are leading. We just see a huge need to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So much is changing so quickly. RetailWire, the next play for us is just to continue driving deeper into those roundtables and even private roundtables for retailers, which will be, a good safe space where they're not being sold to, but they can just talk peer to peer with those in the industry.
Very cool. Yeah, no, that is interesting. I want to go to that one. The idea of, I know, like, one of my website pages, one of my blogs on like grocery software, it's like one of them, a bigger source traffic lead is from ChatGPT. And I'm like, I guess I wrote something good enough that ChatGPT is linking us. So yeah, that's really interesting. Chase, this has been very fun. We've talked about so many things. It's been challenging, like even thinking about like our mind and how we process information, whether we learn and how to tailor that to consumer and then media. We've talked about, I guess the story of RetailWire and how you found your niche. And, from a kid, you were always the one, getting your CDs out or your music to now getting industry knowledge out and making sure, you have the expertise from your roundtables to share the insights. So we talked about the AI and knowledge shift and attention span versus information. I think something cool also is how RetailWire creates that information using, your boards. That's really unique. That's probably the first time I've heard a lot of media outlets that have done that. But yeah, any last plug for RetailWire and where people can learn more? Obviously, they could go to the website, but anything else I'm missing that I should be saying?
Yeah, I mean, the best way to get involved is to find us on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn and reach out. We always have a roster of next activities and next roundtables. So there's open spots for people who are leading experts in the field, or even if you just have something interesting to say about it from your experience and point of view. We continue to host those. We continue to partner with tech companies who want to get in front of retailers and brands. That would be the retail tech solutions. And then you can find us at retailwire.com. You can subscribe to the newsletter and get your daily feed of all the latest stuff in retail. And you'll also get the discussions where you see our panel discussions, which are a daily thing. We send out an email to 125 members. And so you usually get a good 50 commentator input every single day. So you can hear points of view of those who are a lot more experienced than I am. So I learn a lot from just reading the commentary.
That's awesome. Chase, this is, I think I respect you and what you're doing, and this has been fun. I'm excited to see the next newsletter, especially that one. I'm going to have to check that one out. I don't know if I'm signed up for it, but this has been good. Our next episode, we have GroceryPulse will release episodes every few weeks. We do bi-weekly, and I think our next one will be either about with a USC director or something about the shift in landscape on gut health, which will also be an interesting topic and how the trends are playing with food. Great.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you for joining me on this episode. If you found value here, rate, review, and hit that subscribe button. That small act helps us grow this show and fuels me to keep delivering insights that matter. Stay connected by joining our LinkedIn group for even more grocery insights. And if you have thoughts, questions, or ideas, reach out to me directly on LinkedIn or email or Instagram. I'd love to hear them. Remember, the best grocers are always learning. Stay curious, stay bold, and keep pushing innovation. Finally, I'd like to thank my incredible team, Lynn and our head editor, Enrique. Their dedication and hard work makes every episode possible. Let's keep making this podcast better, one conversation at a time.